We welcome you to a meeting of the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education. All regular meetings have been posted on our district website, in our central office, and in each district school building. Tonight's agenda has been posted on our website and emailed out to the Buchanan Community School Board of Education community subscription. Our school board members receive the agenda and all supporting documents for reports and action items several days prior to this scheduled meeting, so we can review information, prepare questions or comments, and are ready to participate fully in the discussions and votes that encompasses the duties of the office. This meeting is a meeting of the Buchanan Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for regular public participation during the meeting as indicated in Agenda Item G. If you wish to make a presentation to the board, please fill out the Google form located on the district website before Item G on the agenda. This form opens for comment at the beginning of the meeting and is turned off once we get through the public comment section. You may also call into the meeting and speak by calling 435-990-5280, PIN 198-646-557#. The board will announce when we are ready for public comment. Please unmute yourself at this time. Thank you for supporting Buchanan Community Schools. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee.
Here.
Miss Berry here. Mr. Carlson.
Here.
Mrs. Lesh. Dr. Carlin.
Here.
Mrs. Ryder.
Here.
And Dr. Burnett.
Call for the adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion that the agenda for the board meeting of April 19th, 2021 be adopted as written.
Support. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Mrs. Lesh. Dr. Carlin.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder.
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Recognition of visitors. There are none. We have superintendent and department reports. Mrs. Robinson?
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. So first on our agenda, we have the recognition of our staff, our Buck Staff Appreciation. Trustee will read the, Katie Berry will read the reports.
Yes, I will. Okay. We had several nominations this time. A quick listing of them is Derek Teft, BMS teacher, Haley Sater, moccasin teacher, Heidi Holloway, moccasin teacher, Kelly Smith, Ottawa teacher, Michelle Munyon, administrative assistant, Nicole Clemens, BMS paraprofessional, Sandra Miller, BHS art teacher, Shelby Beasley, BMS principal, and Tammy Herman, BMS paraprofessional. And the winner was Christine Ewell. Christine was nominated by Dr. Dunn as well as Karen Falkenstein. So I'm going to quickly read what they submitted. And Dr. Dunn said, Christine is an excellent advocate of her students. She has formed great connections with grade level teachers and has become an integral part of our school. Christine can always be counted on to step up and step in. For instance, at the beginning of the year, we had to rethink our entire procedure due to COVID, and Christine is our cruise ship director, voice for dismissal, adding a touch of fun and flair that ends our day on a positive note. Christine has also willingly volunteered to be on our school improvement leadership team. To note, she was one of the few teachers who willingly offered to be on the strategic planning committee last year. When Shay Warner was out this year, Christine did not hesitate and did double duty, ensuring IEPs and REEDs on Shay's caseload were taken care of. Moreover, we love knowing Christine as the chicken lady. We lovingly know Christine as the chicken lady. Her newfound passion is raising chickens, and her generous heart gives away her eggs to staff at no cost. So glad Christine is here with us at Moccasin. And Mrs. Falkenstein said, Christine Ewell is very deserving of Buck Staff Appreciation Award and recognition. During the medical leave of her Moccasin Special Education partner, Christine has shouldered all of the responsibilities of any new referrals and subsequent IEPs for both caseloads. Additionally, she has assessed a homeschool student for continued eligibility for special education in the future. I'm grateful for her stepping up to ensure all legal requirements and timelines were met during this time. She assists her student through conflict resolution training to solve their own disagreements. Her calm, cool demeanor is perfect for working with special needs children and their parents. She gives her personal time to assist with the summer bookmobile as well as the preparation and distribution of the Salvation Army red backpacks. Her professional commitment and fine instructional work are making an exceptional difference for our students and their families. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to all of our nominees and our winner, Ms. Ewell, and also to all of those who nominate. I know it takes a lot of time to write out, so I just appreciate you guys taking the time to do that and recognizing the good work of our colleagues.
So now we have presentations. The first one is Mrs. Dennison.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. I'm Stacy Dennison, principal at Ottawa, home of the Little Bucks, and our youngest learners, preschool through first grade. At Ottawa, we have the important responsibility of helping our youngest students acclimate to the school setting and making sure that they receive the best possible start when they walk through our doors as preschoolers or kindergartners. So the heart of our work is celebrating student successes, both academically and behaviorally, which leads me to an Ottawa point of pride that I'd like to share with you tonight, and it's called Pbis. Pbis is an acronym for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, built on the premise of promoting positive climate for all students. So I think Mr. Place is going to help me out by starting out with a video of our little bucks speaking about Pbis.
Welcome to the Ottawa News. What is Pbis? I don't know. Is it a dinosaur? PBS Kids? Is it a TV show? Sounds like something my teacher would like. Homework? Oh, I do not know. I am stumped. What is Pbis at Ottawa School? Let's find out. Pbis stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. It's a program promoting positive school climate. It all starts with the Buck 3. Everything we do is centered around the Buck 3. Be respectful, be responsible, and be safe. What does Pbis look like? We have posters all around the school. Our posters have expectations on them. Hallway. Dismissal. Bathroom. Recess. And the lunchroom. Let's find out more. All students are taught the same lessons.
Guess what? We have to have all our stuff in our backpack. Right down there, she didn't have time to put her coat in the backpack or she was too hot, so she tied it around her waist. If it's not on your body, it needs to be inside your backpack.
Tell me more. We even have a school matrix. That's a cool word for this outline. What does it sound like? We use voice levels everywhere. We says we use the outside voice. Level 0 in the hallway. What do you hear the adults saying at school? Walking silently. 0 voices. Walking feet. Personal space. Personal space. Let's find out more. Adults love this.
Fact.
3, 2, 1. We kids want to know what the adults. We have lots of awards. Teachers write tickets. Walking in the
good behavior?
being good at gym class, and being good in the classroom and super quiet. When we fill up our tickets. Popsicles! Everybody got a tie-dye mask. Bubblegum! Bucky! We love when Bucky comes to visit.
Great job, Mrs. Smith's class on the Buck 3.
Everybody gets a mask. Bucky rocks! Bucky rocks! Bucky rocks! Bucky rocks! Buck ready! Be on your best Buck behavior. If you want a book at 5, you have to own it. Amazing! What do the teachers say?
As a teacher, I am excited about PBIS because it focuses on the positive with students. Students get excited when they are acknowledged for making good choices anywhere in the building because all teachers know what the expectations are. My students especially love the fact when they are able to get tickets and fill up the class bucket and go down on Ticket Tuesdays and earn special treats or activities as a whole school.
As a teacher, I really love PBIS because it lets us have consistency for our students. The common language and common expectations are known by all of the staff, from our lunch staff to the teachers, and we're using the same language with the kids all the time, and we know kids thrive on consistency. So for that reason alone, it's an amazing tool for us to be using at school for our kids.
Data, data, data. What does our data say? Grown-ups really like that data. I love talking about Ottawa School. Thank you for letting us share with you. I think that's the end now. Oh, this has been the Ottawa News.
There were some slight technical difficulties throughout that with the sound, but thank you, Mr. Place, for playing that. I could speak all night on PBIS. It's the framework for everything that we do every day here at Ottawa. And the best thing about it is it accentuates the positive for sure. And I wanted to give a shout out to Mrs. Laura Hinkle for the producing and directing. She gets all the credit for that video that you just watched. So it's just like Chase said in the video, it promotes positive school climate by teaching common expectations and language and then reteaching those before unwanted behavior escalates. So I want to present and share a PowerPoint slide. And this is just PBIS in a nutshell. There's so much more than what I'm sharing tonight, but I'll hit the highlights. Maybe. I'll just go the easy way. There we go. So the buck 3, PBIS is being respectful, being responsible, and be safe. And in the video, Destiny and Levi said it best when they said it all starts with the buck 3. Our staff and students come in every day with the goal of being respectful, being responsible, and being safe. And that's what we use as we guide and teach students in the behaviors that we want to see throughout the day. We start every morning with the pledge and the buck 3. So why PBIS? Well, if you want students to learn to read, you teach them. If you want students to learn how to write, we teach them. So if we want students to learn how to behave, we teach them. And that's what PBIS does. It's a multi-tiered, evidence-based system that supports both academic and behavioral outcomes for all students. And it also empowers all staff members, from the lunchroom, the kitchen staff, to all the classroom teachers, to our paraprofessionals and healthcare aides. We work together as a team knowing the common goal, common language, and common expectations to support our mission within the building, leading to success for all students. As I said before, we focus on the behaviors we want to see, tipping the scales in favor of the positive. So if there's an infraction, we reteach. The question then becomes, how can we show the buck 3? So we model and continually practice with students. We've woven this into every facet of our day. It's part of our morning announcements. We have posters throughout the hallways. Tickets are distributed by staff when they see positive behavior. Buck high fives are given to students. Everything we do from 8 to 4 every day is grounded in PBIS. Just to give you a little background, this is the 3rd year for PBIS at Ottawa. A team of classroom teachers and our elementary counselor began attending training sessions at Barry and Risa in 2018. They would learn the process of establishing the system within the building, and each year growing the system to the next level under the guidance of our Barry and Risa team and coaches. The Barry and Risa team, not this year so much because of COVID, but they do conduct walkthroughs. They come in and administer fidelity inventories and attend our monthly PBIS meetings to help us create our next steps and action plans to keep the system expanding. Just like classroom instruction, PBIS is a multi-tiered system. And if you look at the pyramid at the bottom, tier 1 is your universal expectations that we teach. This is where you want a majority of your tier 1 instruction to happen, just like you would academically in the classroom. This is what you give to all students. This is where our universal and common language comes into play. And we want 80% of our students to understand and master the expectations for PBIS. But there are some students that might need some more targeted or tier 2 supports. And that's where the reteaching and mentoring of expectations for maybe a smaller percentage of students needs to take place. This year, because we're in year 3, we fully implemented a tier 2 strategy called check in and check out. Our tier 2 students are assigned a building mentor that checks in with that person upon arrival and dismissal. They set mini goals throughout the day, earning points as a behavioral support. And then on the very top of the tier is your tier 3, which may require an individual learning plan, which is we don't have any students in that top tier as of now. A majority of our students fall in the tier 1, tier 2. So this was in the video, our Ottawa Common Language. And students thrive on consistency and routine. And when all staff use this common language to help guide our students, they know exactly what's expected because we teach walking feet, silent ways, level 0, and personal space. That's just to name a few. The use of common language empowers all staff. So if you visited in September and October, I could have been heard saying, walking feet, please, when I see students in the hallway that are not using walking feet. But as we progress throughout the year of in-person learning, now in April, you'll hear me say, thank you for using your walking feet. So this language really pulls the building together. And when I say walking feet or any staff member says walking feet, students know exactly what to do. Our behavior matrix outlines all of our areas within the building: dismissal, hallway, classroom, bathroom, lunchroom, playground, and it has each of the buck 3. And underneath those, it gives expectations for each of those areas. This matrix is displayed in classrooms throughout the building, and copies were shared with families at the beginning of the school year. Staff, mainly the Pbis team, created instructional videos for each of these areas so classroom teachers could use these videos to teach and practice the expectations. These are also used for reteaching an entire class as a friendly reminder, let's say after we come back from Christmas break, or with a small group of students. So what does the data say? Are the efforts we're putting forth working? And I am just highlighting, I could have done 20 slides of interesting data. We use a system called SWIS, which is School-Wide Information System, to track our behavioral infractions of students. And this system allows us to monitor infractions so we can really drill down to specific types of infractions, time of day, the areas within the school system. So there's lots of ways that we can pull reports, but these were the top 3 that I wanted to share tonight. We increased from 85% to 93% of students with only 0 or 1 referral from last school year. And our number of referrals also just decreased from 425 down to 226. So that's huge. When we started Pbis, it was basically focused on the common areas within the building, the hallways, the bathroom, the lunchroom. So this data just shows the decrease in referrals in three of those areas. So the playground was a reduction of 38 infractions down to 28, which is 12% of all our referrals. And the hallway was reduced from 34 last year to only 11 referrals so far this year. And the cafeteria is the main one. That went from 40 referrals last year down to only 4 so far this year. So only 1.7% of our referrals are coming from the lunchroom. And that probably has something to do with how the cafeteria is set up for COVID. We only have 2 classes in there at a time, but still, when you get a group of 40 to 50 kindergartners or first graders in there eating lunch, they're doing a fabulous job this year of following buck-free within the lunchroom. So those are pretty impressive data points. Along with the consistency that Pbis builds, the celebration of students' positive behavior is what I love most about Pbis. We have the buck high fives that are given to students. They can be given by any staff member, given to a student that might exemplify being safe or being responsible. And these are notes that the child can take home at the end of the day and share with their families. We also have a ticket box and a life-size Bucky cutout that we added to the building this year. Our PTO is a strong supporter of Pbis, And because of their support, we're able to purchase items that increase the excitement and enthusiasm for all things we do PBIS. We have a large ticket bin and the life-size Bucky cutout holding a poster of the Buck 3. And if you look closely, there is a ticket goal line on that bin. And we start out at the very bottom, and we have Ticket Tuesdays, where students bring their jars from the classroom down by the ticket bin and they dump it in on the way to lunch. And then we keep moving that goal line up and setting mini goals until we have filled up the entire bin. So some of the small goals along the way to filling up the whole bin have been popsicle parties, visits from Bucky. He just recently, as you saw in the video, delivered some tie-dyed masks for every student. And last year, we haven't filled the bin yet this year, but last year, before COVID hit, we were able to fill the bin the entire way up to the top, and we had a visit from a magician. So the students were super excited about that. Another way that we celebrate students is our Little Bucks of the Week wall, where each week a student is picked, someone that really goes above and beyond in following the Buck 3, doing all 3 of them, being respectful, being responsible, and being safe. This is on a wall that is seen by students as they travel to and from lunch. So they get to see the wall every single day, and their faces really light up as they walk by and see their friends on the wall or their own face up on the wall. I wanted to share also, what do parents say about PBIS? So I solicited some parent feedback, and one parent said that they like the communication between school and home. I can praise and reward my child so the good behavior carries over at home. I think PBIS is wonderful. She had a student that is on our Tier 2 check-in, check-out. Another parent that has a student on check-in, check-out, sorry about that. She says it has worked out great. Her child's whole attitude towards school has changed. She is always proud when she meets her goal, and it has helped her a lot within the classroom this year. And finally, the third parent said PBIS has been a natural way to connect the skills our kids are learning at home into our daily routines at home. They are the first to remind the rest of the family if we are not following the Buck 3. So that's great that it carries through to the home. Hoping this program continues beyond Ottawa. So my final slide tonight is just what are our next steps. We've put a lot of time into focusing on the expectations of the common areas of the building. Like I said, the hallway, the playground, the lunchroom. And by the data that we've been collecting, we can see that that's making an impact in our number of referrals. So now, with COVID and having to cohort more, students are spending more time within the classroom. So as expected, we have seen in the data that our classroom infractions are increasing. So our next step is to focus more on classroom expectations and routines. And the template that you see on the screen is one that has been developed. Teachers are filling that out, naming what it looks like in their classroom to be respectful, responsible, safe. What does arrival procedures look like? What's dismissal procedures look like? And this has really helped when substitute teachers come into the building, that each classroom has one of these expectation and routine plans. And we're going to continue to refine and talk about what common expectations we can start implementing in each classroom. The other goal that we have moving forward is our community outreach and partnerships. That was one of the areas on our inventory from Barry and Risa. So how do we get the Buck 3 out there? How do we get more of the community involved in what we're doing here at Ottawa? So we've currently shared posters with the Senior Center and Library, and we're looking to include City Hall, which I may have a connection there, and the Senior Center and Art Center. So we're going to keep getting the word out. We partner a lot with our families. The kids go home talking about the Buck 3, they're using it home, but everything that I've talked in this presentation, actually coming and seeing it in action in the building speaks volumes more than what I've shared here with tonight. But this was a point of pride that I felt needed to be shared with you all from Ottawa, because I'm so proud of our students and staff for carrying out the Buck 3.
Thank you. That was an
Thank
impressive.
you. Yeah. Awesome.
Am I still presenting?
No.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I know it was a lot and I tend to speak quickly. And maybe Dr. Carlin, you can use some of the Buck 3.
Oh my God, I was just gonna say the same thing. I'm like, why wasn't this presentation 6 days ago? I could have used that.
I'll be sure to email you the behavior matrix.
Yep.
Thank
Like,
you,
wow,
Stacy.
40, I was looking at the statistics. I'm like, wait a minute, 40 to 4. That's a 90% drop, right? That's,
Yeah.
if I get even half of that in my own household, I'd be awesome.
Yes, that was the big one for us. That was the big one, like, wow, look at this. So the lunchroom is running smoothly, so we're happy with what we've got going there.
That's
Well,
awesome.
thank you all. And if you ever want to stop by and see it in action, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mrs. Robinson?
Thank you. Thank you, Stacy, Mrs. Dennison. That was such a good presentation. And I actually had a chance to visit while one of the students was getting their card signed for like a check-in, check-out. So it was just really smooth how it was done. It was nothing that kind of brought attention to anyone. And as a matter of fact, the student was very excited about getting that part of their check-in, check-out piece signed. So it's really cool to see it in action. So we have our executive updates next. So we'll start with Phil. And I just want to say that I have Tom Tebow on the call. Right, Tom? You're here? Can you say something? I believe I saw you. Okay. All right. So you'll go after Phil. Okay, Phil.
There we go. I'm multitasking. Good evening. Several major things that happened in March that I'd like to go over. First was the district Facebook page was relaunched, so lots of major changes there and improvements in how that will work. I talked about that in previous board meetings, but we've included some rich media now, so we're doing more with pictures and other things in our posts. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that recently or not, but we have a lot's happening there, and it looks really good. Some bad news. Microsoft released an update in March that broke printing across the world, basically. We were hit. We were able to catch it pretty quickly, and we were able to get an update, or we stopped the update from going out while Microsoft got their stuff together. But only a few people were affected, and we still have a couple people that are getting affected as updates are slowly trickling back through. But we're doing a pretty good job of managing that. It didn't cripple us, which it did some organizations, so I feel like we were able to stay on top of it. We implemented a temporary wireless network that connects our field house, our baseball stadium, a baseball press box, and our softball press box, so that we now have wireless coverage in the entire high school athletic complex outside. That was a big thing to get accomplished, because as we were hearing in the video and in Stacy's presentation, data is very important, and nowhere is data more important than to baseball and softball people. I had no idea. They're doing all these things wirelessly now, and they need that internet, so we're happy to help out where we can. The solution that we have in place now is temporary. Because of the weather, we couldn't do anything permanent, but as Michigan stops throwing snow and wind at us, we'll try to get that made more permanent. A new wireless server was put in place, and that was part of a major upgrade that actually happened over spring break. So that's something I'll be talking about over next month when we have our board meeting. And then the last little point of pride that I'd like to point out here is that we purchased and implemented new audio equipment to facilitate board meetings, which we're using for the first time tonight. So hopefully everybody can hear us all very, very well, and that help will eliminate some of the problems with understanding each other. So that's it for me. Any questions from anyone? I'm happy to offer up whatever I can. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom? You're on mute, I believe.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can't see me though, can you? Can you?
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure how this worked, because I got my laptop open, I'm not sure if the laptop's doing it, I don't see myself on the screen, so I don't know. So, well, it's been interesting so far, just trying to get things organized over here, and trying to get the credit card stuff posted. It hasn't been posted since December, so trying to get expenses up to date, and then we'll get the budgets where we want them to be and start talking about next year's budget. So, but people have been very helpful here. Phil's been great, helped me out, and everybody I've met so far has just been really excellent people here. We got some, and you know, since we're here in the high school, I get to see the kids all the time, so they're always very nice to me. So I used to feel big, but I always feel small. So, but it's been interesting. So I'm just trying to keep you afloat, and hopefully we'll find you a good person that will come in and help your school out. And if you need additional training, I can help them do that too. We are doing the bond refinancing. That's in the process right now. We're having a meeting Thursday to talk with the different people, and the actual sale is, I think, May 6th. So the savings are going to be pretty good, but it's not going to be as good as it was told to you before, because the interest has gone up. So, but still, it's substantial. So, yeah, help you with your future bond requests that you're probably going to do in the future. So, any questions for me?
Thank you, Tom. Patricia, could you maybe explain to people what Tom's role has been?
Absolutely. Thank you. So
Thank you.
Tom Tebow is here. He is working as our interim business director. We are without one right now. So what his goal is right now is to iron out some of the issues or challenges that are within the business office and getting us a current cash flow, making sure that we have we end the year with a budget, and then we open up our school year with a budget, a finished budget as well. So that is his goal right now, and he'll be working here through until we get a permanent person as well, and he's going to help us out with kind of interviewing that person as well. So that is his role. And he's been working here, just want to say that two days a week he is here in person, the other days he's virtual. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and so next, thank you, Tom.
I'm gonna leave. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Al's report is included in the packet. He does have a couple of updates there. One, he said that there was a new range installed at Ottawa. In Moccasin, there are continuous preventive and reactive maintenance to the building. Of course, we know that is an older building. Middle school, the same thing. And then high school, lots of work going on around the athletic fields and getting ready for the spring season. So that was Al's report. And Mark?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The COVID Extended Learning Plan questions monthly submission for April was in your packet. I'm just going to touch base on a couple of the big points. Obviously, last month, March and early April, we did some fully in-person students during that month. We also had remote kids. We didn't do any hybrid. It's not been part of our district plan and continues to be. I can happily say that after spring break, we started back everybody, so we're hoping to go a whole month without being remote at all, which is our goal. Throughout the rest of that monthly report, you can see we check off what grades do what, how many people do what. That really doesn't change for the most part. The big part of the report, there's some new parts to the report, monthly report. If you slide down to page 815, it starts, or page 8 out of 15, it talks about some ESSER money that's been released to the district or will be released early in April. There are 15 different areas that the district could work through as a projection of where they wanted to put some of that money. And so right now it's been decided Area 9, which is technology and software, the district will be putting about $125,000 aside for that. Area 11 is summer school. We put about an extra $140,000 for summer school remediation K through 8, and then credit recovery 9 through 12. Area 14 is kind of dealing with some testing and maintenance and inspections, and we've put aside about $25,000 for that. And then the last area, we set aside about a contingency plan, let's say of $100,000 to kind of use as the district sees fit. And that area, that money can be adjusted, but as of right now, that's kind of where it is. Right now, the state has approved or will be releasing, like I said, early May, about 43% of our ESSER II money, which is about $391,000 approximately. So that's kind of actually what we can actually work to start spending in early May. And as we move throughout the summer, hopefully the rest of the ESSER II money will be released and we'll be able to move forward with that. The second part of that report the last part of that report has to do with a grant that came out from the state of Michigan, a summer program grant. And what it allows for is it allows for districts to provide summer school. Normally we pay for summer school through our title program, and so those of you that have been around for an experienced period of time like myself know that we normally do about 2 teachers at the elementary level, K through 4. We normally have 2 teachers at 5 through 7, and then the high school normally does credit recovery. The state, due to COVID and things like that, is putting a big grant out there where you get $550 minimum for every student who signs up for summer school. And if you're doing a special program, you get an extra $100 per student. And so the districts we went into kind of a cohort with Barry and Risa with probably about 5 or 6 other districts that allow us to provide summer school. But also because we may have some school of choice members that want to participate in our summer school, going through BRISA will allow us to count those summer school kids and receive money for those. And so the principals right now are just probably started to air tomorrow. We'll be starting to get information out to that first wave of students that we would like to encourage to attend summer school, those struggling students that we want to try to get caught up in K through 8. And then 9 through 12 at the high school will be a credit recovery. And we may have a special program, but right now, for sure, we're going to have credit recovery at the high school. And I think the most important thing for board members to understand and get an idea that for the most part, it is just free for kids. Whether we pay for it out of this summer grant or we pay for some of it out of the ESSER money, it's not going to cost kids or parents anything. That includes the credit recovery at the high school, which is normally about $250 per class. And so right now we're looking at hiring about 2 teachers per grade level, including a teacher's assistant, some mentors at the high school for credit recovery. So in my time here, this will be the biggest summer school program that we've ever offered in the district. So we're excited about that. We're hoping that when parents get that letter and or call from their elementary, middle school principal, they'll be encouraged to send their kids to summer school. It's 8 weeks, Monday through Thursday, 8 to noon. We'll provide breakfast and lunch and transportation, which again, I don't think we've done the transportation piece in the district since I've been here. And I see Ruth shaking her head, so she can go back on the history on that. No, no, and no. So all in all, we're excited about that. And you can see the cost there, the estimated cost, what we think the cost is going to be, and then where the money's coming from. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Those 2 big pieces as to the ESSER money and the summer school money were part of the update. You had to do the April learning report in order to tell the state what you were doing for the summer school piece and to get them to release the ESSER money. So thank you. Any questions for me on that?
What I do want to add is that we're trying to, and this is one of the reasons why the government is giving us this money, is to eliminate any barriers for students that may not be able to come. So we want to make sure we have transportation, we have food, and we have enough openings for kids and for parents who may even just see that there is a need there. So we'll do it by invitation first for our tier 3 students, and then we'll open it up after that to the whole district. So we're hoping that our families will see this as a good resource to help their kids close any gaps that there might be, social, emotionally, then also academically. So
Exciting for the
it
summer.
is really exciting.
It is. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
I know that I appreciate all these reports. I know they're difficult for all of the individuals who have to give them, but it really helps us. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure the rest of the board does. Are there community concerns or dialogue? Okay, so we need the adoption of the consent agenda. Do I have a
I'll make a
motion?
motion that the board approves the consent agenda for the regular board meeting of April 19th, 2021. Includes minutes from the 3:15 meeting, warrants, treasury and expenditure reports from March, probationary tenured listing for 2020, 2021 school year for the high school, middle school, and elementary school, contract services with T2 Professional Business Services to provide business services requested by Buchanan Community Schools. Recommendation to hire is submitted by Patricia Robinson, Al Burgett, Director of Operations. Staff resignation is submitted by Nicole Clemens, BMS Paraprofessional, Patricia Smith, Moccasin Paraprofessional, Rita Say, BHS SPED Teacher. Reconfirmation of Buchanan Community Schools Extended COVID-19 Learning Plan.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lesh? Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett. Okay, motion is adopted.
Agenda item I-1, BVA graduation certification. Do I have a motion? I'll do that. I move that upon satisfactory completion of the district requirements for high school graduation, the Board of Education hereby approves Buchanan Step-Up student Kaylee Hall.
Support.
Okay. Any,
Just congratulations, Kelly. So we know Step Up is a step over our virtual academy. So for her to finish is a great accomplishment. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
any comments or questions? It's always rewarding to see students who are successful in a non-traditional way.
Absolutely.
Roll call?
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lesh? Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett.
Okay. Agenda item I-2, School of Choice. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education, exercising the option permitted by Section 105 of the State School Aid Act of 1979, as amended by Public Act 300 of 1996, will accept applications of non-resident students who reside within Berry and RESA boundaries for the available grade level openings as listed below for enrollment into Buchanan Community Schools for the 2021-22 school year, and will operate a Schools of Choice program in our district in compliance with the statutory requirements of Section 105. The window for applications for these openings will be May 14th, 2021 to June 11th, 2021. Available openings for each grade level. Ottawa Elementary, kindergarten 16, first grade 7. At Moccasin, second grade 11, third grade 8, fourth grade 7. BMS, 5th grade 3, 6th grade 5, 7th grade 6, and at BHS, 8th grade 10, 9th grade 10, 10th grade 10, 11th grade 10, and 12th grade 2.
Do I have a second?
Support.
Mrs. Robinson?
Yes, thank you. So this is a yearly resolution that we have, and if you notice that the window is open a little bit earlier this year, we are hoping to capitalize on students and families as they are searching for schools for the upcoming year. So we ask that you approve this.
Okay. Any comments or questions from board members? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lash? Dr. Carlin? We'll come back to him. Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett? Dr. Carlin?
Yes, and Kaliana just finished her book, just, she wanted everybody to know that. So,
Congratulations, good job.
thanks.
5 yeses, so motion is adopted.
Thank you. Agenda item I3, certified staff maternity leave. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion. Okay. That the Buchanan Board of Education grant maternity leave to Natasha Holingsinger. I almost didn't do it because I don't know if I'm saying that right. Ottawa Elementary School early childhood special education teacher from approximately June 14th for the completion of the year, in accordance with Article 11, Section B2D, using accumulated sick days barring any complications, she would return to her position as early as childhood special education teacher at the start of the following school year.
I second that. Mrs. Robinson?
We wish her the best of luck. And the new baby, wish him well.
Yeah, yeah. Any comments or questions from the board? Roll call, please.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lash? Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett? Okay. 5 yeses.
Agenda item I4, certified staff leave requests. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion the Buchanan Board of Education grants unpaid leave to Carissa Todd, BMS 7th grade English teacher for December 1st and 2nd, 2021.
Support.
We have- okay. Mrs. Robinson?
So this is a teacher who's part of the union, and this is one of the processes that they do have to go through in order to receive leave kind of around this. So there is a letter, I believe, included in your packet around her reasons why. So.
Any comments or questions from board members? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lash? Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett? 5 yeses.
Agenda item I5, procedures regarding Open Meetings Act. Do I have a motion? It's long.
How did we do it before?
Okay, I can do that. I move the Buchanan Board of Education adopts the following resolution. Whereas the Open Meetings Act was recently amended via Public Act 254 of 2020 to grant greater latitude with respect to electronic participation by members of the Board of Education and the public in certain circumstances. And whereas the Board of Education desires to utilize electronic participation as necessary and in approved circumstances in compliance with the law. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The Board of Education hereby adopts the following procedures to accommodate electronic participation by board members who are absent due to a medical condition or due to a statewide or local state of emergency declared pursuant to law or charter or local ordinance by the governor or a local official, governing body, or chief administrative officer who would risk the personal health and safety of members of the public or the public body if the meeting were held in person. In the event of such an emergency, if the meeting location is usually held in an affected area by the entire board may participate electronically. Otherwise, only members who reside in the affected area may participate electronically. For purposes of this paragraph, medical condition means illness, injury, disability, or other health-related condition. Electronically may include video and/or telephone conferencing. The procedures adopted by this resolution and to accommodate lawful electronic participation by board members are as follows. A, two-way communication shall be provided through electronic means. B, for each member of the board attending the meeting electronically, there shall be a public announcement at the onset of the meeting that by that member to be included in the meeting in minutes that the member is, in fact, attending the meeting electronically, and except for members who are participating electronically due to military duty, stating the county, city, township, or village and state where the member is located. C, the public shall be provided notice of the absences of members and information about how to contact the member sufficiently in advance of the meeting to provide input on any business that will come before the board. 3, through March 31st, 2021, the board may hold its meetings electronically in whole or in part for any reason. 4, the board further authorizes from April 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021, electronic participation solely under the circumstances set out in paragraph 1, as well as pre-existing law requiring accommodation to military duty. After December 31st, 2021, only members requiring accommodation due to the absence for military duty may participate electronically. 5, for a meeting of the public body held in person before April 1st, 2021, both of the following shall occur. A, to the extent feasible under the circumstances, social distancing and mitigation measures recommended by the CDC and prevention for purposes of preventing the spread of COVID-19 shall be adhered to by all attendees, including the measure that an individual remain at least 6 feet from anyone outside the individual's household. B, heightened standards of facility cleaning and disinfection to limit participant exposure to COVID-19, as well as protocols to clean and disinfect the event in the event of a positive COVID-19 case in the public body's meeting place shall be utilized and hereby adopted by the board. 6, the board authorizes the use of technology to facilitate typed public comments during the meeting that may be read to or shared with board members and other participants in satisfaction of the requirement that members of the public be heard by others during the electronic meeting and the requirement that they be permitted to address the board. 7, advance notice of any meetings held electronically in whole or in part shall be posted on the district's website, either on the homepage or on a separate webpage dedicated to public notices for non-regularly scheduled or electronic public meetings through prominent and conspicuous link on the homepage. This notice must be posted at least 18 hours before the meeting begins. Notice of a meeting held electronically must explain the following. A, why the board meeting is held electronically. B, how members of the public may participate in the meeting electronically, including provision of the specific telephone number, internet address, or both needed to participate. C, how members of the public may contact members of the board to provide input or ask questions on any business that will come before the board at the meeting. D, how persons with disabilities may participate in the meeting. 8, if an agenda exists for electronic meeting held under this resolution, the board shall post the agenda on the website at least 2 days before the meeting begins. This does not prohibit subsequent amendment of the agenda at the meeting. 9, members of the public who are participating electronically or in person shall not be required to register other than as required by the bylaws to participate in public comment. 10, members of the public will not be allowed to participate in any closed session during meetings held electronically in whole or in part, and all prior laws and bylaws relating to closed sessions continue to apply. 11, the superintendent shall implement all procedures and other requirements set out in this resolution. Now, be it further resolved that the execution of this resolution in conclusive evidence of the Board of Education's approval of this action and the authority granted herein.
Support.
Are there any
Good job, Ruth.
comments?
Good job, Ruth. Hey, can you just review, can you just go over 2 through 7 for me again? A little bit on that.
Mrs. Robinson, is there anything else you would like to add?
No. Wonderful.
Any other comments from the board?
I can say I attended one of the MASB Lunch and Learns. I don't know what the official name is, and there was a lot of discussion around this and what others are doing. So what we're doing is in line and consistent
Great.
with others. So.
Great, awesome. Hearing no other comments, roll call, please.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mrs. Berry, yes. Mr. Carlson,
Yes.
Mrs. Lush, Dr. Carlin,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryder,
Yes.
and Dr. Burnett. 5 yeses.
Mrs. Robinson.
Okay, so,
Information and new business.
yes. So we had 3 committee meetings last month. One was the Curriculum and Planning Committee, the other was Board Policy Committee, and the last was Human Resources Committee. So I've asked Ruth to give us an update for the curriculum, and then Ms. Berry, she will do the Board Policy, and then I will do the Human Resources.
Okay. Well, I had the advantage of attending all 3 of these, so it was busy. Scott, if you have anything to add to the curriculum committee, I would so appreciate that. So on March 23rd, 2021, we started at noon, and I think we finished up around 2:30 or something like that. So it was a very lengthy meeting and very productive. The board members were Scott, Dr. Carlin, and myself. District team members were Trish Robinson, Mark Curlin, Phil Place, but we also had the high school administrative team. And basically, the entire time was a dialogue with the high school, questions and answers about the high school and scheduling. So I'll highlight a few things that we went over. Obviously, scheduling was a paramount concern. When is this schedule done? How is it done? And so on. Mrs. DeMeo and Mr. Pruitt emphasized the fact that we have lost teachers over recent years and they have not been replaced, so this is a bit of a problem for them. We discussed the AP courses at length. It is a desire to have one option per 4 core subject areas. That's our goal. At the present time, it appears that an AP psychology class has the most interest, and so that seems to be the one that we'll pursue first. Lots of discussion about electives that are not designed for the AP students. There's a passion there among the staff and the students. Discussion of alternative scheduling, and Mrs. DeMeo talked about maybe having semester-long courses, 2-hour courses, 6 or 9-week courses, so really changing up the schedule to accommodate different ideas and different course content. Engaging content with new and revisited electives. We used to have a lot of electives, and they've gone by the wayside as a result of state mandates and so on, and maybe at some point we can get back to that. And perhaps something that would help is rotation of electives. So sometime during a student's 10th, 11th, or final year, they'd be able to take an elective that they wanted, so a rotating basis. Talked about class size. Not as many are on campus every day, every hour, because of CTE, LMC, SMC, ELAB, COVID. There's so many things going on. And there's a recognition that some class sizes will be lower than others due to advanced classes with diminished numbers every year. If you keep going up the progression of math, for example, you start out, lots in algebra or geometry, and then it kind of dwindles for a variety of reasons. I know I was one of those dwindling students. And as a result of that, departments have to just adjust to that reality. So you may have a small number as a senior, really advanced class, but then you'll have to double up a few in those others. Lots of discussion about ELAB and how many students are in ELAB, making up credits and electives. What does that cost the district? Could we better accommodate those students with another teacher, perhaps, and fewer students in the ELAB? And we talked a little bit about, part of it is due to COVID this year. The number of failures, I've seen that across the state, number of failures for high school students is just skyrocketing, so we'll have to deal with that. And then we talked about budget for curriculum materials. We have not had a budget for curriculum materials in a number of years. We need, and it's not just textbooks, there are tons of online resources that we need to explore. Technology is included in that, but there's a cost, and that's something that we are going to have to address, because our goal here is to educate students, and you can't educate those students without materials. Scott, do you have something else?
Speaking of the money piece and looking at the figures that were in this packet today, we also talked about, how can we use some of our surplus in education, educationally speaking, we kind of tasked, I want to say this, Trish and Ruth, you can correct me, and Mark, but we basically kind of left it. We sort of tasked the high school, I forgot the nomenclature you used for that committee, but the leadership committee, the leadership of the high school, essentially, we basically tasked them, hey, you know the problems, or you know the areas we would like to improve, that you think need the most improvement educationally. How do we keep more kids in the building? Where are our gaps? What can we offer to keep them in our doors, keep more of them in our doors? How can we address the needs of the various levels, from the top to the lowest and in between? You guys know that better than any of us here on the board. So, basically put together, put together a plan of what you would like to see. Where are the most important needs? What are kind of the wish list items? And, let's use some of this surplus money, if we can, to start addressing some of these things. And then we kind of also left it from the financial standpoint of, hey, it may take a year or two of growing pains and a little bit of financial stress, or using up some of that money. And I don't even want to use stress, but using up some of that money to figure out, the best algorithm for things. But some expenditures that we use up front to get a couple more teachers, or to offer some more classes, or let the teachers we already have teach some smaller classes to offer more things. If that can ultimately, whether it's AP or just other things in our building, if that keeps more kids in our building, we get some of that money back. And I'd be really interested from a financial standpoint to know what those numbers look like. If we keep X number of kids in our building for half the day that are normally now gone, what does that mean to our bottom line? And how many teachers does that mean that we could afford to keep in-house? And that could have a very cyclical effect and could snowball pretty quickly if we could keep some of our kids in-house. Not to mention the fact that even if there wasn't a financial gain of keeping kids in-house, we have some excess money, it appears. And again, I'm not on any budgetary committees, and I'm still learning as we go. But I recall our last board meeting, and we talked about this at our curriculum meeting. I recall our last board meeting, a presentation about transportation, and we need this, and we need that, and nobody, and correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody as part of this current group questioned any of those things, including me. Yep. We need a gate, yes. Trackers on our buses, yes. And those numbers, they were concrete, but they didn't seem real. Like, hey, yes, if it costs that much, it costs that much. I look forward to the day when we can have a conversation about that with regard to, hey, let's hire some more teachers. Let's get some educational materials. Let's use some of this money to, improve on some of our things. Curricular at least. So that was a big point, and it wasn't just me, I just remember saying that. But that was a big part of our conversation. So I look forward to seeing what Stacy and Brian and Mark and whoever else is involved in coming up with, and Trish, coming up with that, hey, here's our wish list, here's how we could close some of these gaps, here's what we could offer, here's how we could get AP in our school, here's how we could close the Spanish gap that we currently have in 8th grade apparently. Just the things that we learned from the last meeting. It's exciting to see those things and hopefully make some sense of them and then get some initiatives actually going.
Yeah. I thought the meeting was excellent. We talked about so many things in those two and a half hours. I had a conversation earlier today, and the phrase I use is it takes money to make money. If we want our students here, if we want a better budget for Buchanan, we have to keep our students here. We have to be attractive to those school of choice students and parents. And so that's what we're going to have to look at as a board.
And I don't know, I would love to know more about how the foundation allowance numbers are affected by keeping a kid who normally would be at LMC for half the day, or the Math Science Center for half the day, or SMC or whatever. If that student even came, if we kept one student for 1 hour, what does that mean? If we kept 30 students for 3 hours a day that currently are in the building, what does that mean? And it also makes the idea of, oh man, hiring more teachers is expensive. Well, not if we could keep some of our kids. And I was surprised to learn when Stacy told us, and maybe all of you aren't aware of this either, and Ruth, correct me if I have the stat wrong, but she said in the last 4 years, we're down 5 teachers that haven't been replaced at Buchanan High School.
I believe that's
Yes.
what she said.
That's what she said.
Yeah. The fact that our students, they can't take past, again, this is correct, they can't take past Spanish 2 in our high school. And, the list went on and on and on, but things that I wasn't even aware of, those types of things, seem like they could be remedied with a little bit of looking at some of the numbers and whatever else they come up with. Again, I think it's important that the people that know the high school best kind of come up with some of those things. But it's exciting to see, how that could sort of morph in the next year, I think. Trish, was all of that accurate from what you remember?
That was, and
Okay.
especially now that we have some dollars, we know that we still have 60% or less than 60, a little bit less than 60% of those ESSER II dollars that still have to be released. So we have some things in our pocket, and even right now, the ESSER II monies can be extended to 2023.
Oh.
So we have a little bit of time to make this work. And you're right, we do have to put money up front. I mean, we have to put money to spend money to make money, to bring our kids back, and also just to offer them more options. I was in I don't even know if I want to say his name, but Mr. Wagner's class. And he was teaching and does a wonderful job, just a wonderful storyteller. I was intrigued. As a matter of fact, I didn't even go to the next classroom listening to him. And what I did, I looked down at the books that the kids were using, and I just gulped, and my heart sank. So it is going to be important for us to put the resources where it needs to be, and it's, number one, in the hands of our students. So we will work to get that done. And so
You're referring to being in his history class?
Yes. Yeah.
And again, not to put certain people, not to like mention certain names, but since you mentioned one, but like when we have these conversations about AP, and I have no idea if Josh would ever want to teach an AP class, but my guess is he'd probably be pretty good at it if he wanted to do it. And having somebody like that teaching world history or European AP or AP US or AP government or whatever, there's no reason why our kids, we couldn't have a class of 10 kids try that the first year and a bunch of kids say, oh, wow, this was a great class and I can do AP. And those are the kinds of things where 3 years later, he's got 3 sections of AP whatever that are already meeting a requirement the state has already. And I love the fact that our kids want to take AP Psych, but as far as I know, that doesn't hit any particular benchmark for graduation, right? It would be awesome if we had it, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But we could even start by, ticking off some of the things that are required for graduation, such as civics, by having an AP government. We talked about that. Or having, for those kids that want to do a 4th level math class, or those kids that, you have to take X number of English credits. Why can't one of those be one of the AP English classes offered? Or, those types of things. So we talked about all that.
And
as
at
well.
one time, we had a number of AP classes. I know, Scott, when you were in school, we had honors classes, AP classes, and because of the change, I believe, in the Michigan curriculum about 10 years ago, 12 years ago now, those kind of went by the wayside. And just a side note, the U.S. history books that we currently have, I was part of the adoption process. They were written in 2007. These kids weren't born yet in many cases, and they're taking the class from that perspective. And things have changed in the last 14 years.
Absolutely.
A little bit. So, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mrs. Robinson.
Thank you.
Okay, Board Policy Committee. We had a riveting meeting about policies that was about 2 hours long. Super exciting. We will have a first reading coming next month. We're still working through all of the policy changes. So there were 11 policies related to non-discrimination, anti-harassment that were in all of the sections. Those were all Neola recommendations based on updated language, so fairly simple changes that need to be made. Just take some time to go through the policies and make sure they're accurate. The resolution regarding the Open Meeting Act, and then there were several policies, again, many of them relating to some of the same common language that's being updated throughout, and those include discrimination, again, non-discrimination on the basis of sex and education programs or activities, emergency medical authorization, video surveillance and electronic monitoring, criminal justice, information security, student records, school safety, protective facial coverings during pandemics, food services, and wellness. So it really wasn't all of that exciting from the content. It's just one of those necessary updates that are coming. So we'll see those next month or May? May. They're the same. We'll see those in May. Any questions on policy updates?
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you. And then the HR update, we met March 30th. It was Ruth, Kelly, and Katie. Then myself, we had just probably, I think, 3 or 4 items on the agenda. Our biggest topic, or most talked about topic, was, of course, the business director. And although the conversation was rich, I'll just kind of make it really kind of small here. But at that time, we did not have any candidates who had applied. The opening or position had been open and posted for a number of weeks. And so I did check today. So we do have one candidate who has submitted their application or their interest in the position. And this person is currently working at a district within the business manager field. And so also I spoke to Cindy Scott, who is our auditor. She would be willing to provide some training, coaching, and mentorship to whomever the candidate would be, as well as to complete a competency assessment on this person. And what that would do, that would help us to understand where the person may need training or more support, and just setting the person up for being successful in that position. And then we spoke about a staff handbook. I know that had been something that had been talked about for a number of years. So I did get a sample from Beer and Risa. We're going to take their template and actually update it to make it our own. And so we should have a working staff handbook for the upcoming school year, just as well as a hiring process guide. So we do have a checklist that was created, I believe, last year or the year before, that the district has been using. We're going to add to that and add more processes in there. Who needs to know what to do first, things like that. So we did have a sample from the Monroe Public Schools. And then just giving an update that we do have negotiations coming up in May and June. We're hoping and hopeful, very hopeful that we can get this done before school is out, or by June 30th. So, and negotiations will be with each of our 4 unions, the Buchanan Education Association, the Administrative and Media Assistants Association, the Transportation Association, and the Buchanan Association of Classroom Paraprofessionals, Healthcare Professionals, Paraprofessionals, and band paraprofessionals. So, questions?
Mrs. Robinson, have you looked into hiring a search firm for the business director position? I think.
So I shared that I guess quote, if you want to say, with the group. I did not explore that one any further. It was quite costly, like $14,000. So if that is something that the board is wanting to do, that is something I definitely will. We can adjust some things for.
I personally think this hire is, too important to not exhaust every possible option. So, I mean, I would be for that, or looking into it further anyways.
Okay. And I can definitely get that set up.
What?
And I don't know, any other board members can chime in on it too, but if this is something that.
I think our original discussion was kind of see if we get candidates at the front end and then look to that as the next step.
What's the tack without doing that?
So without doing a search would be, we have one candidate. And so, in speaking with Mr. Sobey, who was the one who gave me the quote, you would probably get 2 or 3 candidates, but he would exhaust other efforts or other platforms in finding someone.
So, okay, maybe I missed something in there as well. Maybe this is what Chris was asking. So, when you say you only get one candidate, you've already identified a permanent candidate?
No, we have one who applied, who actually submitted their application.
Right, and I guess my question is what strategy did we use to find the one person? Where did we put it out? Like, where did we post the job, et cetera?
So Yeah, we posted the job on our website, also with MSBO, which is the Michigan School Business Official website. So most of them go there for that, which is also now, it's linked to MESA, which is the Michigan Association of School Superintendents and Administrators. Any of the M's, all of the M's, MESA, MEMSPA, MSBO, it is on that website.
Okay. And
And then in Enterprise, it's open for anyone within the county to see.
and so it's already, since it's posting, it's already closed and there was only one applicant?
It has not closed. It's open until filled. And it has, yes,
Okay.
it only has one applicant so far.
And how long, what was the exact, like, how long has it been posted?
I want to say at the beginning of March, around that window.
Okay, is that, and you,
Mid-March. I know.
Mid-March, maybe.
Trish, you and Katie and whoever can probably speak to this much more clearly than I guess I, not knowing much about it, seem really surprised that there's only one person that's even applied for that job. Isn't that surprising or no?
Not for that
I think it's
position.
such a specific job that there's just not a lot of qualified applicants out there, probably.
There was a,
In Berrien County, maybe.
we did have discussion around, there are several openings within local districts that have those same openings too, so we are competing for that talent as well.
Gotcha.
And I spoke with someone else within the county who is connected to someone just outside the county who has a business official opening. And this district found someone working at a current local market who has some experience in finance. Now, what they're doing is then just hiring an additional person, kind of like a Tom or someone else, to help train this person because that's what you have. It's very, I mean, and Tom is not on here, but this is where, we're in this position. There's just not a lot of people out there with
Right.
that certain skill set. And I was talking to, I think, Don Sovey, who said, you get some people with their an accounting background, they're going into the private sector. They're not going into this sector because they can leave school making, 6 figures right away without a lot of the additional stressors that schools
Right.
offer.
Okay, so, and you're looking for commentary on this, like right now? Is this the place to comment on that, Trish, or no?
We can, yeah.
So Ruth, I'm going to ask you to tell me if I'm accurate in this or I'm kind of speaking out of school, pardon the pun. But so it seems to me, both as a student and having had family members as part of Buchanan schools and having been part of this community in some format or another for 40 some years now, that this job, much like the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher at Hogwarts, has been one that has found itself in a lot of trouble over the years. Is that fair to say, Ruth, without mentioning any names?
I believe that this position is inherently,
Problematic?
yes. And
Okay.
that's because they have the power of the purse.
Right. And
And-
so whether,
Yes.
so whether confirmed or rumored or substantiated or unsubstantiated, it seems like this role has always brought with it either rumor or actual legitimate issues, problems. I don't know. But that's just and so I guess when Chris Lee first said, hey, this seems to be a pretty important piece, and especially for you, Trish, because it's such an important part of what you're trying to do, that we want you, I think, speaking collectively, we want you to have the best support on your team that you can get. So, I'm certainly going to eventually defer to how you feel about that person that you're trying to recommend for the position, but we also want you to have resources to be able to find a really good fit, especially given the historical problems in that role for whatever, again, realized or perceived. So, and I'm not saying that the one candidate that applied isn't tremendous. I don't know. But, you know, and again, I'm also not dismissing $14,000 as, you know, just a drop in the bucket either. But I guess that's my initial reaction to all of that. And Chris, is that similar to where you were going? Chris Lee, is that similar
Yes, it
where you
is.
were going with that?
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can also add, and we didn't share the detail, but one of the things that we talked about is to be patient. There is a contingency plan in place, so we have someone helping out with the role today, so it's not completely vacant. So instead of forcing a hire that doesn't fit the position or the responsibilities or the experience, take the time to make sure we're hiring the right candidate. So that is absolutely the discussion that we had.
That's great. How, and what's Tom's timeline?
His was yesterday, but really, he said he will go until June 30th, because you remember, he is retired. This is, you know,
Right.
another business, and he is, because it is, he has two or three other districts that he is supporting as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think, you know, as we talk about 14,000, that's the other consideration, is he costs us a lot more than a permanent candidate does, so those costs, it's not only spending 14,000, it's kicking that hire down the road further and spending more money with Tom, where those costs get added into that as well, because the permanent hire would be cheaper than his fees for sure.
Ruth and I spoke with Don Sylvie earlier today. He was just asking, he's doing a review, I guess, of the business office program in the past, and he interviewed us as board members, but he made the mention, well, I asked him questions, and he made the mention that other districts that he has worked with in Michigan similarly had one or two people apply for the position, and then when he did his search, you know, he was giving them 20 or 30 candidates to choose from. Now, I don't necessarily, you know, we don't necessarily need to go with his services, but maybe someone else has services also they can offer as part of a search process.
Another point that he made today in that meeting with Chris Lee and myself is the fact that if you get the right person, they'll save you money, they'll make you money,
Right.
seeking grants and so on. So we have to keep that in mind as well. I mean, yeah, and I will say, Dr. Carlin, that in my experience in more years than anyone in this room, teaching and being in education, that it's rare to find the perfect fit. There's always an adversarial system in place between the business and what happens on a day-to-day basis. And so it's tough. It's tough to find that perfect individual. And we've had at least one that was non-adversarial, and it was a gift, but didn't last long.
And I feel good about some of the things that Trish is putting into place as far as the competency review to make sure that the candidate is a fit. So I think some of those things, it takes a little time to plan with those, so I'm comfortable with the approach that you're taking.
Does MASB offer search services for that level, or would it be just the superintendent, I wonder?
I haven't seen search services, but I'll check, so I don't, yeah. There might be something, I'll check. And then I have my meeting with Don tomorrow, so I can ask him specifically as well, if I don't see it on the website.
Well, I guess I would say, and again, I'm glad that Chris spoke up and said something kind of immediately after he heard it. Trish, keep us updated, I guess, on what you think it is you need to find that best person. I think we all benefit if you do your job to its fullest potential, and to do that, you have to have the best team you can have, and people that you feel you can, you know, be best in sync with and maximize efficiency and proficiency. And so if we can help with that, I think we're probably all open to it, and we can talk dollars and cents specifically upon your recommendations. but I don't want you to I don't want us to hire / you to pick somebody that immediately you feel like, man, I feel like I kind of settled.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then that, you know, has serious ramifications for, you know, years to come, so.
Okay. Thanks.
One other quick point that Mr. Stovey brought up was that most districts our size split up the financial aspect of the business director position and the HR aspect of the business director position. So they have actually two people doing the job that we've always had one person doing. And so I think that's something we should also be considering.
Yeah, so
You can talk to him
remember,
about that tomorrow, Patricia. but-
yeah, and then remember, so the HR position is split between business and then the superintendent's office, so as well. So it's like split 3 ways. Which if you have splitting a business office official, all of those ways, though, does set them up for not being extremely successful in that position. So I would definitely talk to him about that tomorrow. So we've had several conversations about the setup and how we're set up currently with everyone being pulled and doing extra things. I mean, and these are
Right.
critical areas. It's not just a little process here or process there. It's major duties that would take more than one person to do.
And one thing he pointed out is the fact that our laws are constantly changing. Everything has just dramatically shifted in the last decade. And so there's so much more paperwork that's on your shoulders right now in the business office, and the business person isn't really the HR person, and so that was one of the things that that Don Sovey talked about with Chris and myself. So it's something that I'm sure you'll talk about tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So.
Yes, and I will keep everybody up to date on our next steps and what we're doing, especially if he does do the search, or a company like him, or if it's MSBO. I will have, a team involved with that search and what it looks like.
Great. Time-consuming committee meetings, but we accomplish a great deal in those
Yes.
committee meetings,
Yes.
I'll say that. Any questions or comments from the board members? Just want to say that I know that as an individual community member without children in the school right now, I compliment every educator, principal, everyone, from the people who clean these buildings to the people who drive the bus home at night. We've maintained, and in spite of all the fastballs that are thrown at us every day. So I really appreciate that.
I would just like to, 2 things. I'd love to see there are several nominations from parents, which is really
Yes.
nice to see the nominations from parents. But secondly, I appreciate the district's approach with the governor's recommendation to go virtual. I love that you worked with the health department to make a decision based on our data instead of statewide data, so thank you for acting so swiftly on that.
Exactly.
And I guess loosely related, Trish, can you give us just a brief update on how the sub pay adjustment has affected our ability to help with the teachers that are out, or has it?
I did not go back and get that data. I know we do have several permanent people that were hired recently, but I don't have like the specific data. Like, I did not bring that update, but I can get it to you in the next board.
Just curious if there was less gaps because of that.
There was a week in April where there was no gaps, right?
Yes, spring break.
Sneaky.
Right.
But I'll get it to you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you all for your time this evening, and our next board meeting will be Monday, May 17th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good night.
everyone.